Shinra Kusakabe went from being framed for the death of his own family to becoming the god of an entire universe built by his own hands. The question is, how does this kid that can just create fire from his feet end up being able to reshape reality in his own image? Well, let's find out. Because when we first meet Shinra, he's making his grand entrance into the Fire Force, pulling up with pure main character energy. As he saves the sister and lands on the floor, he leaves the infamous Devil's footprints. This isn't an issue for Shinra though. I mean, his main goal has always been to be a hero, but when he's faced with his first main challenge against an Infernal, a combusted human with tremendous power, its flames traumatize Shinra, reminding him of his past. Which we'll go into more detail later, as the truth of Shinra's origins are crazy, but for now we just have to remember that he lost both his brother and mother in a fire that he was blamed for due to awakening his pyrokinesis powers at the same time. However, Shinra knew that he wasn't to blame, as that day he saw the true devil that did it. Nonetheless, this is chapter 1, and so of course we can't reveal too much of his backstory too soon, so Shinra snaps back to reality, powers up, and flies straight through the Infernal's core, moving so fast that his whole face gets vacuum sealed by the wind pressure. And so when he finally lands the kick, this poor chap goes from demon to donut. And so Maki, who by the way is an extremely powerful second generation pyrokinetic user and also Fire Force's best girl,
I want milk,
sees this and can't believe just how cracked Shinra already is. But because she was just outdone, Maki has to prove to us how busted she is, and so she decides to run a heads-on training session for Shinra and Arthur. Spoiler alert, it's a one-sided massacre. Both of them get thrown around like ragdolls. Maki straight up yeets Shinra off a building by disabling his flames midair, and you wanna know the worst part? She's holding back. Moral of the story? Shinra's got a long way to go before we reach his god tier abilities. As following this, the new rookies of the Fire Force compete in a tournament which tests them in a simulated rescue mission. Thanks to his insane mobility, Shinra flies straight up to the top floor like it's nothing, but guess what? Joker is waiting. Before we can even look at his freaky ass face, he throws hands instantly. Shinra tries to fight back but can't land a single hit. Joker is literally playing with him like a child playing with his food. But most importantly here, Joker drops the ultimate lore bomb. Shinra's little brother, Sho, is alive. This causes Shinra to lose it, dashing towards Joker again despite being slapped up last time. However, Shinra is actually evolving mid-fight, changing his trajectory in ways even his opponent has to respect. But before he can do any more, Joker, ironically, pulls a Batman and vanishes, blowing up the building in the process. Shinra, thinking up a 200 IQ level play, tells Arthur to slice through the ceiling and then outflies this whole-ass explosion, proving that amongst all the rookies, Shinra is him. Following this, a new threat emerges, an Infernal with human sentience. But even this guy is nothing compared to Shinra. Bro doesn't even fight. He makes the Infernal question his whole ass existence, as he had no idea how busted Shinra was. Just for fun, he kicks the car into the sky, tracks it midair, and boots it straight into the Infernal's face. Even the Infernal was like, what the? But before he can land the final blow, the captain of the 5th Company, Hibana, shuts him down. But when she insults the kid Shinra saved, well, nah, that just got personal. Thus, Shinra, somehow, with pure determination and main character energy, shrugs off her powers, ready to solo all of Company 5. Bear in mind, this is a captain level opponent, and Shinra is already willing to fight them. Yeah, she may be one of the weakest, but still. Following Hibana's Shinra's actions, Iris confronts her since they were both sisters together in childhood, but gets bitch-slapped instantly. So, you know our hero has to make his appearance. He ain't gonna let his girl be treated like that. Hibana tries using her heat syncope to make Shinra's blood pressure drop so hard that he should be in a coma, which she then follows up with the Sakura Blizzard, a move that would usually turn this fight into GG, but for Shinra, nah. He tanks through the dizziness, ignores the firestorm, and walks straight through her attacks. Then, he sends her to the Shadow Realm with a single punch. Gender equality at its finest. The craziest part about all this though, Hibana falls in love with Shinra. That's right guys, if you want a woman to fall for you, just punch them as hard as you can in the face. Okay, my legal team just wanted to let you know that I'm not an expert, that was a joke, my advice shouldn't be listened to. Okay, but for real though, the fact that Shinra just tanked all of this displays his absurd levels of endurance because given her reaction, this is a first for her. Shinra's body and brain should have been totally fried, yet he instead proved to the world why he is the protagonist and not them. But before you get too carried away thinking that Shinra is way too strong already, let's knock him down a peg or two. Because he and Arthur challenge Leonard Burns, the 1st Division captain and one of the strongest men alive. Arthur swings at him with his Excalibur and nothing happens. Nada. Bro got hit with a connection interrupted as Burns snuffs out the sword with a literal finger tap. But then there's Shinra. He ain't gonna give up, so when he finally lands his blow, the entire area shakes. Yeah, he still gets stomped, but let's be real, alright? Burns is built different. The fact that Shinra even made him feel something, that's a big dub for such a little guy. Nonetheless, the whole reason they were even at the first company to begin with was to investigate someone who's artificially causing spontaneous human combustion. Shinra finds out that Reka Hoshimiya is the culprit, and the dude is kidnapping a child for his experiments. He bodies Tamaki in seconds and prepares to kill her for what she's just seen, which is when... Wait, what is that? Is that... It is. It's an aura farmer.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This dude is an aura farmer like me.
Shinra straight up sends this dude into the concrete. And despite Reka being a lieutenant, Shinra keeps up with him, which is just insane. Considering this is someone that everyone looked up to in the 1st Division is high praise for Shinra, which is when we learn something huge. He possesses what is called an Adolla burst. Now this isn't just any fire, this is the fire, the purest original flame used by the sun god to create the planet itself. This thing literally can power the whole ass empire, and this is only the beginning. Using his god tier speed, Shinra starts wall kicking at max speeds, zipping around so fast that Reka can't even react. Now Shinra is a lot more intelligent than you'd think, especially for a shonen main protagonist, right? That's the standard we're talking about here. Because he knew that in raw power, he was outmatched, but used his environment to his advantage to make the best use of his agility and speed. And so Shinra builds up a one-shot nuke of a kick and finishes the job. Shinra won this battle despite actually using a significant amount of flames just to find Raka and Tamaki, meaning that Shinra is already on the level of most lieutenants. But now we must fast forward to when Asakusa got absolutely jumped by the Evangelist's forces, where our boy Shinra was out here proving again why his intelligence is next level, displaying his future role as a commander. He's out here analyzing enemy movement like he's in a chess match, figuring out his opponent's next moves with ease. But his main opponent is a chick named Arrow, and guess what her power is? It's arrows.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Now at first Shinra is getting cooked. Her arrows don't miss, don't change direction, and he can't do jack about it. But then some lunatic sets himself on fire and transforms into a two-horned demon straight out of Asakusa's nightmare. It's looking bad, but then Benimaru, motherfucking Shinmon, the undisputed GOAT of Fire Force, casually carries everyone like it's nothing. But just as he's about to finish the fight, Arrow attempts to stop him, and that is when Shinra gets his first Adolla link from Conro, Benny's right-hand man, begging for him to save the day. Shinra straight up breaks the sound barrier to intercept the arrow, and through sheer raw shonen willpower, he deflects it. Arrow is in pure disbelief because this should be impossible. No one has ever done this before. However, Shinra refuses to believe that his flames are meant for destruction. They do not belong to the devil. He's here to prove to the world that his fire exists to protect and belongs to a hero. Meanwhile, Benimaru just casually nukes the Inferno with his Crimson Moon. And listen, I know we're here to gas up Shinra, but like, can we just play the sound effect, please? Now moving forward to chapter 53, the 3rd Brigade Captain Dr. Giovanni appears with killing intent because Vulcan rejected his recruitment to join his family's arch nemesis, Hygium Industries. Shinra senses these death flags thanks to his Adolla link and rushes in, but Giovanni is different to Hibana. He's stronger, he plays dirty, stays in the shadows, and catches Shinra completely off guard with his stealth, only to then zap him with 2 million volts of electricity. Yet somehow Shinra just tanks it. Trust me, the power scaling for this series is only about to get even more absurd from here on out. Still, Shinra gets absolutely folded, and Giovanni proves that he's nowhere near most captains' levels yet. Thankfully, Hibana saves his crispy ass just in time, so Shinra gains his energy back and rushes in for a rematch, immediately booting Giovanni in the face. Even with bro's nerdy ass thingamabobs and gizmos, Giovanni is no match for Shinra's zoomies. But then, oh, you thought Giovanni was the final boss? Get out of here! Because that is when Sho appears. That's right, Shinra's long-lost, thought-to-be-dead brother drops in out of nowhere. Now, this dude is busted. He teleports behind Shinra at speeds so fast that it almost makes it seem like the entire world around him is standing still. Sho even blitzes in front of a moving van, nearly kidnaps Shinra on the spot, and would have wiped the 8th Brigade out if Joker didn't randomly show up. After that, Licht declares that the 8th's main goal now is to power Shinra up to god tier level if they want to stand any chance of defeating the Evangelists and saving Sho. So both Arthur and Shinra get sent to Benimaru's Hell Camp. The undisputed strongest fighter in the world tells Shinra that he needs to open his 3rd eye and sense everything, as that is why Giovanni bodied him, because Shinra was blind to his surroundings. And so they start sparring, with Benny telling Arthur and Shinra to come at him with killing intent, but he dodges everything like he's in creative mode. He tells them that something is missing from their attacks. Yes, the force is there, but it's still missing that special ingredient, that something invincible, which is when Licht has an idea. He needs to concentrate them into a singular devastating burst to essentially squeeze the flame. Benimaru, being the walking cheat code that he is, nails it instantly as a demonstration, but Shinra, not so much. He actually overthinks things too much, unlike Arthur for example, so he ends up failing. That is, until he's introduced to hand signs. By copying Benimaru from a distance, trying to use a specific hand formation, Shinra accidentally unlocks corner for the first time and explodes immediately, something which will be crucial for later on. But for now, through ancient techniques, Shinra learns how to channel his flames properly. He nails the tiger sign, concentrating all of his energy into one finite point, and then boom, he teleports into the sky. Even Benimaru is surprised by this, and when the strongest Fire Force character is impressed and demands that you fight him using it, you know you just leveled the fuck up.
I'm built different.
Cut to later on, and Shinra is so stupidly fast that Benimaru is struggling to react. The man who one-shots Infernals for breakfast. But Shinra, he's catching up. Like I said, he's catching up. Nobody said that he was caught up yet. Bringing us to the 8th Brigade's next mission to investigate hell itself.
What?
Yeah, so the White-Clad have been using the Nether as their hideout, meaning it's time for Shinra to enter and stop their plans. But most of all, he wants to find Sho. However, upon entry, everyone gets split up. Shinra immediately has to save Licht using his new move, the Rapid Man Kick. Let's just call it rapid. Nonetheless, Shinra is even faster than he was against Benimaru now, and his precision is crazy, displaying that he is leveling up more and more, which we will see in the next fight. Because Shinra reconnects to Adolla, getting bombarded with visions which eventually lead him to his brother Sho, but he is brainwashed to oblivion. He calls their mum a nobody and disrespects Shinra straight to his face, which causes him to jump right in and say,
What you did was not nice! It's not nice to do that!
Now, at first, Sho is shocked by Shinra's speed, but it doesn't matter, as he stops time. This dude is playing a whole different game. Turns out he's bending the laws of physics to literally freeze time around him. That's how he's so fast. Sho can just somehow cool the universe around him to the point where time stands still, essentially making everything else stand still. Now, does it make any sense?
Nope.
Is it complete and utter peak?
Yeah.
And so with this, Shinra is cooked until he miraculously lands a hit on Sho. Through sheer brotherly love, he forces an Adolla link between the two, gaining the Evangelist's grace through him. Now, what is grace? Well, it's essentially a powerful boost that makes Shinra's pyrokinesis way stronger, like break the laws of physics stronger, thus allowing him to do things that normal fire powers can't, such as stopping time. This is why it's only accessible to those with an Adolla burst via either the Evangelist or someone like the Woman in Black. Alternatively though, you can get grace by linking with somebody who already has it. That's how Shinra got it, as he connected with his little brother who was already linked to the Evangelist. There is a downside though. Grace only lasts as long as you're connected to the being giving it to you, and they can take it away at any time. And if they're not strong enough to keep the connection going, your powers might only last for a second. That being said, when Shinra uses it here, he becomes cracked, as using the Evangelist's grace, he vanishes. Not even Sho, with his time-stopping powers, can see him, because it turns out Shinra went faster than light to the point that his body literally breaks apart into tiny subatomic particles. This then lets him travel a few seconds back in time to just before Shinra's body fell apart. Yep, it's only chapter 82 and bro is already rewinding time at a subatomic level. By the end of this insane fight, Sho sees the truth, breaks free from the Evangelist's brainwashing, only for Haumea to pull a nah, that's a little bit too much plot progression for my liking, and snatch him away whilst his sword somehow ends up in Shinra's chest. And so in the end, whilst Shinra failed, this ain't over. Not yet. Not even close. But after waking up, he feels like he's on the edge of an existential crisis, as Captain Burns greets Shinra with a bombshell. He knew about Sho and lied to Shinra this whole time. Our guy is rightfully pissed. I mean, he was bullied and was called a devil his whole life because no one believed him, and yet this guy knew. One of the most influential men out there. But Burns is also one of the strongest, and so whilst he acknowledges Shinra, he's never really taken him seriously. Thus, if Shinra wants to learn the truth, he's got to prove right here and now that he's strong enough to handle it. However, Burns activates part of his true power and is able to literally stop Shinra in his tracks with his aura alone and react to the kid's light speed. But Shinra lands a hit and actually manages to hurt Burns' arm, something he admits hasn't happened in a long time. So with Shinra Shinra proving that he's strong enough, Burns drops a big old truth bomb. The horned demon that Shinra saw, the one that he believed to be the true devil that killed his family and ruined his life, the one that haunted him and made him join the Fire Force in the first place, that was his mother. She got consumed by despair after seeing Sho burst into flames, with the evangelist twisting her into this horrible being. But despite everything, she still wanted to protect her kids. Burns kept the truth from Shinra in order to keep him safe because he was about to become a major target. And so now Shinra has a new mission: find Sho and save his mother. Thus, he's gonna connect to Adolla and uncover the truth and bring her back. And so Shinra's next move is to talk to Captain Haig. Earlier, when connected to Adolla, he saw him within the flames. Pretty sus. But things get even more twisted because Shinra starts to get controlled by one of the pillars, Amaterasu. She gets in Shinra's head, telling him to burn everything to the ground. And so, what does he do? He kicks Haig in the face, sending him flying. But this isn't Shinra. He's not in control. Thus, Ogun and Arthur gotta step in because Haig, well, Shinra uses Rapid against them, and if Arthur didn't know what this move was, he would be finished. Ogun also can't keep up either, despite being one of the strongest rookies in the whole of Fire Force. Like, seriously, this guy is no joke. The 8th even admitted later on that they wanted him over both Shinra and Arthur. Whilst this beatdown is going on though, Shinra is facing a separate battle, as within his mind, Shinra's fighting back against Amaterasu, who just keeps pulling him deeper into her control. It's not until Arthur brings up Sho that Shinra begins to break free, causing Amaterasu to lose her cool, which is when Shinra legit kicks himself in the face to snap out of it. But hey, he gains some new info in the process, because it turns out a new pillar is about to be born, the 5th one, and so it's time to stop messing around. Because as he's failed before, Shinra's new goal is to protect the 5th pillar at all costs, as this girl is a walking time bomb, and if the evangelist gets their hands on her first, she's gonna go straight down the same path as Sho, if not worse. Inka is a complete freak. She gets snatched up first by the evangelist's forces on her own accord, as she loves violence. Shinra, being the naive guy he is who can only speak shonen, tries to protect her, but Inka is disgusted by the idea. But then Charon makes his appearance, a man oozing with aura, making Shinra look like a complete weakling. Even with his Rapid, Shinra can't do anything. However, he remembers back to his Benimaru training. He recalls when he blew up the ground by using the wrong hand sign, but this time he's not going to make the same mistake. You see, Shinra realizes that Charon's a 2nd generation fighter, which is a huge revelation, as basically he uses the energy from attacks used against him and transforms it into his own power. But even with this knowledge, Shinra still can't land a clean hit, forcing him to whip out the corner, his ultimate hand sign attack. At first, he can't pull it off, but after some trial and error, he nails it, creating an explosion so powerful that Inka sees a nuclear level blast with her ability. But Charon is somehow still standing. Thus, Shinra is defeated and Inka joins the evangelists, resulting in possibly Shinra's fattest L yet. And so Company 8 heads to the Chinese Peninsula for their next mission: investigate high Adolla burst activity. Now this is where things get wild. You see, there is much more mystery surrounding the Amaterasu power source that powers Tokyo, as they find a much smaller rundown version of it here, which is when Shinra gets another Adolla link telling him to protect the oasis these talking animals call home. That's when we learn that a godlike human once lived there and used her powers to save the animals and recreate the world after a tear from space, before disappearing following the creation of this version of Amaterasu. Fast forward to now, and the 8th runs into the Infernals, who reveal that Amaterasu in Tokyo is actually capable of destroying the world. Netherworld, which is exactly why the Evangelist's master plan involves using it and why Giovanni was sent to retrieve the key, all to kick off the Great Cataclysm and remake the world, turning it into a new sun. But before Shinra can even think about stopping that from happening, he's got to face one tough as hell challenge, a two-horned demon that only Benimaru and Kuro have ever been able to defeat in the past. And so, what does Shinra do? He steps up to face this demon, even though he knows he's clearly outclassed.
That's why he's the GOAT!
But just when things look grim, Shinra spots the godlike figure that's been haunting him, the woman in black within this Amaterasu. She grants Shinra a single second of grace because she spent so long in Adolla that she became a being reminiscent of the Evangelist. Unfortunately though, she's already used most of her power. But what could Shinra possibly do with 1 single second? Well lads, don't let anyone tell you differently, alright? That is plenty of time. In fact, you know what? It's a really long time. It's all Shinra needed after all, as in that 1 second, he becomes so fast that the world around him literally stops. It's like he's skipping through time and it's too much for the demon. He takes it out and boom. An explosion so massive that no one even knows what happened. As far as they're aware, Shinra was stood right before them less than a second ago, yet in the time it took them to blink pretty much, bro had defeated a demon far beyond what any of them are capable of defeating. This proves that when being given grace, Shinra is one of the strongest characters in the series, as he's not only insanely fast, but also able to manipulate time itself. It's around this time that the 6th pillar, Nataku, is brought to everyone's attention thanks to his Adolla burst. But what's huge is that his powers could be the key to everything. However, Hajime, the big, stinky corporation that they are, have him in their experimentation facilities. Now, if you're wondering why Shinra wasn't held here as a kid, well, he actually was. But they couldn't prove that he had an Adolla burst, so they let him go. Once they found out that he did, though, their experiments got a lot worse and more children suffered as to not let such a prodigy slip through their fingers again. Thus, Shinra feels a lot more responsible for everything happening to Nataku. Nonetheless, before he could do anything, he remembers this absolute freak called Kuro. He is the type to bully the weak, a total sadist. Therefore, when Shinra and Licht go to investigate, things get heated. However, he is totally outclassed. His usual tricks, rapid and corner, aren't doing a thing. Why? Because Kurono's using his tephrosis, which is the illness you get from overheating on his right arm, to his advantage. This ash is literally the reason Kuro can't fight anymore. But Kurono, he's gotten more powerful than ever thanks to it. In fact, he's said to be on the level of Benimaru if he really puts in the effort. That is how strong this guy really is. So it's no surprise that Shinra's on the ropes. But then the 6th pillar, Nataku, starts to awaken his powers completely due to Shinra's resonating nearby. And as if things weren't bad enough already, the Evangelist's crew shows up, including Inca, to try and snatch Nataku. The poor kid becomes this kind of hot potato, with everybody wanting him for their own purposes. But Shinra has more immediate problems. He's got to fight a massive infernal that Haumea's cooked up, a beast ready to destroy everything in its path. But the best part about all of this is the epic team up where Shinra and Kurono join forces to take down the beast. Then it gets worse. Nataku, overwhelmed by trauma triggered by Haumea, starts to lose control of his powers, which means he's about to create a 500-kilometer crater. Yep, he is going insane. But no worries, because Charon, the GOAT, steps in to protect everyone, including all of the 8th division. This moment goes absolutely stupendously hard, as Sharon literally saves everyone with one of the coldest moves in the entire series, solidifying his position as that guy. Now, despite being a complete freak, Kurono somehow plays a role in saving Nataku's mind. Yeah, it's a weird dynamic, but Kurono's sadistic sadistic behavior actually helps the sixth pillar regain his sanity. Crazy. Like I said, it's odd but surprisingly effective. Thus, after a long, brutal battle, Charon acknowledges that Kurono is the protector of Nataku, the sixth pillar. Not gonna lie, this was a bit of another L from Shinra, as without Kurono and Charon, my guy was cooked. It's not ideal circumstances to be heading into a rematch against Dr. Giovanni with, who, may I add, is now a whole different monster, as he is fused with insects. Yep, you heard that right. The guy's basically become one with the bugs. He's combined with a dragonfly for enhanced vision, giving him 360-degree view of his surroundings, and he can track bullets. Oh, and to top it all off, he's using insects to read Shinra's emotions. What kind of freaky ass power is this, man? What's this even got to do with fire at this point? Nonetheless, it's a tough fight for Shinra, as he needs Arthur's help to take this dude down, because Giovanni may be a complete weirdo, but he is still busted. He even takes things further by spraying Asian beetles to try and fry Shinra and Arthur alive. At least that's a bit of fire to it, I guess. But then he f***s up, as Giovanni starts mocking Sho for becoming Haumea's puppet, causing Shinra to lose it. And this is Shinra without his Adolla burst even active, and yet he's blazing through this fight. Meanwhile, Arthur goes full Luffy. He clears his mind, acts like a total goof, and somehow uses that to slice Giovanni in half. Listen, if it works, right? However, Giovanni is a genuine cockroach, as he somehow survives and escapes. But it's now clear that in terms of power, Giovanni is a bozo compared to Shinra, and so my guy has officially reached captain level. Thanks to this battle though, Shinra also discovered something big. The only people he can truly connect with are those who have an Adolla burst, and so Shinra goes to meet with Conro, someone he connected with in the past who effortlessly beats a white-clad member without using his powers. It's light work for him, I guess. Whilst Shinra's there though, Benimaru sees that he's now strong enough to learn Hysterical strength, a power-up that removes the human brain's limiters and allows the user to tap into 100% of their ignition abilities compared to the usual 30% that the brain limits them to. Now, I'm not big on math, but I don't need to be to know that that is a huge power boost. But, of course, to get such a boost, Benny's gonna put your ass through some brutal training. We're talking like torturous levels. It's hard to even call this training, to be honest. They get burnt at the stake, dragged by a carriage, and put through all kinds of hellish methods, all to unlock their full power. But let me tell you, it is worth it. They learn how to handle life and death as Shinra taps into the hellfires of Adolla, confronting his past and the fear of death. He sees his mother and brother, and his survival instincts kick in. The pressure of death fuels his flames, transforming his power into something insane. Even Benimaru is impressed by the sheer power Shinra is now wielding, where together with Arthur they succeed in unlocking the Hysterical strength, but collapse from this strain. However, soon after, this new ability allows Shinra to feel the pressure of Haig's death. Nonetheless, this simply unites all of the Fire Force companies. Their goal is now clear. They are taking down the Whiteclads and the Evangelist no matter what. But then this bozo is brainwashed and put under Haumea's control, messing everything up as they bring the Whiteclads to the Holy Church. He convinces Captain Burns to join forces with them for the greater good.
How can this be for the greater good? The greater good. Shut it!
Throwing a wrench into everything, as the 8th Company is now at war with pretty much the entire world. Things go even further south when Obi is imprisoned by the Holy Church for being a so-called traitor. But with Joker now on their side, Shinra rushes to save his captain before it's too late, leading him straight to Captain Burns, who is fully brainwashed by the Evangelist and low-diffs both Shinra and Joker easily. This is thanks to his power, Voltage Nova, which allows Burns to accumulate more energy over time, meaning meaning the longer the fight drags on, the more powerful he gets. But Shinra, under the pressure of death, taps into his full potential. His flames turn blue as Benimaru taught him, and he starts pushing Burns like never before. Even Joker is stunned by how much Shinra's leveled up. You see, Burns might be a captain, but as we've learned, Shinra is at that level too, causing Burns to enter stage 2. Meanwhile, Obi does the impossible. He prevents an infernal bug from entering his body simply by flexing his muscles so hard that nothing can penetrate through them. Yeah, I don't know either. Obi even shatters the chains around him like it's nothing and starts flexing in full bodybuilding glory. It is completely absurd, but Shinra knows that he can't last forever, so he's gotta once again level up and save his captain. His clash with Burns that follows is so intense that it annihilates an entire building. But despite using an upgraded corner technique, Shinra still can't hurt Burns. And as if things couldn't get any worse, Burns reaches stage 5. The shonen in Shinra kicks in though, who refuses to give up, which is when Burns eventually reaches his limit and overheats. That's right, this was actually a battle of attrition and no one knew it. Thus, Burns acknowledges Shinra's power one last time, knowing that he can finally achieve his goals and protect the world. However, just when things seem all hopeful, Burns is stabbed through the chest and has to hold off his own doppelganger so that Shinra and Joker can escape. You see, a doppelganger is a powerful version of yourself which comes straight from Adolla, something you really do not want to mess with, which is when Moonlight Mask makes his appearance, with Inca in pure disbelief at his power because it literally emanates like the moon with her abilities. This guy is on a whole different level. He goes toe-to-toe with Dragon, one of the strongest characters in Fire Force, and even plays around with Sharon. Now, whilst they do succeed in escaping, Shinra is framed for Burns' murder, which casts him as the devil of the world. Thus, he makes the bold decision to enter the world of Adolla on his own for the first time. Benimaru once again guides Shinra to open his third eye and connect with other dimensions and outer space. Thus, Shinra succeeds in connecting to Adolla, where he meets with Sho again, who recognizes him instantly. You see, their relationship is actually evolving, as Sho even begins to question everything once he meets his brother again. As a result, Sho decides to betray the evangelist and go on his own journey, taking his guardian Arrow with him. This changes nothing though, as the Cataclysm is inevitable, with all 8 pillars now on Earth, meaning the planet's destruction is imminent. The pillars then start rising from the sea as a massive kaiju-sized infernal defends the first. Shinra is the only one who can actually fly out there, so he does, but is quickly knocked out by the other Fire Force members because he had to defend the pillar behind the infernal. This is because if they damaged it, it would cause catastrophic damage to Tokyo. Now, whilst unconscious, Shinra forms an Adolla link with Inca, who tells him they must travel back in time if they want to find out the next step in the Cataclysm. And so, Shinra, using his light speed abilities, travels 250 years into the past. Yep, Bro can now use his powers whenever he wants because the world of Adolla is so close due to the oncoming Cataclysm. And given what Inca said, Shinra can seemingly travel any distance back in time, which is just wild. To think this all started because he could shoot fire from his feet. I don't know. But what I do know is that it actually isn't as wild as what happens next. That's because Shinra sees a world that looks frighteningly similar to our own. Why is that? Well, because it is. That's right. Fire Force takes place in the distant future where a cataclysm ended our reign and gave birth to 2D. But Shinra doesn't get much time to enjoy soaking in his own live-action adaptation, as he's all of a sudden in a new body hearing about the appearance of a 5th pillar. However, things only get weirder when the people around him start looking at Shinra like a total stranger, because it turns out he's been acting as if he's possessed. He's been dyeing his hair, getting tattoos, all the kinds of things the usual Shinra would never do. But the line was drawn when he attacked Iris, forcing the 8th Company to tie him up. To make things even weirder, when Shinra tells Arthur about the Cataclysm and how the entire structure of the world has changed, he learns that 3 months had passed since he time traveled. And during that time, Shinra actually became the devil from the rumors. He became the version of himself that the entire world perceived him to be. That's right, Shinra was overtaken by his doppelganger. Now, during the time in which Shinra was unconscious, people with abilities began noticing that their powers were rising, especially 3rd generations, meaning that Benimaru just got a big ass power boost. Yeah, I don't think he needed it either. It is good timing though, as Benimaru's master's doppelganger appears, someone that Benny never defeated. And bear in mind that this is a stronger version of his sensei as well. Thankfully, Benimaru is actually just like god tier. He's even known as a child of the heavens, so needless to say, he easily takes care of this guy whilst Asakusa cheer him on. This isn't really important to Shinra's story, but we can't not mention the goat. Plus, following their battle, this freaky ass moon appears in the sky due to their powers drawing Adolla closer. Now, those who know what series this moon is from, make sure you leave a like. However, the reason it looks like this is because it's our own perception of the moon in the way it's usually drawn like, meaning that this world is about to go crazy. Now, meanwhile, whilst all this is going on, we learn more information about Shinra and Sho's family, or should I say lack thereof, as there is no history of their father anywhere. I'm not talking went to get the milk, never came back. I'm talking bro doesn't exist. That's right, Maru Kusakabe was being examined for a virgin birth, meaning that this had to be some act of God. Now, there was a legend regarding a virgin birth, with one being born from it to become a savior, a hero who came to save the world. Sounds familiar, huh? Yeah, they're basically trying to say that Shinra is this era's version of Jesus. He's a projection of the people's concept of a savior. He's not just a hero to his family, he is the hero. And so, Sho tells his mother that he won't leave Shinra, and he'll discover why he even exists in the first place, plus why Shinra, for some reason, wasn't known for being an angel, but rather a devil instead by the people. Anyway, Shinra, the savior, appears on the battlefield as the 8th pillar makes its appearance, telling everyone that he can now, indeed, go lightspeed without grace. But unfortunately, before he can do anything, he's stopped by Fairy, this weird-ass guy who somehow possesses an Adolla burst without being a pillar. Fairy, you see, can heat atoms to increase their mass, allowing him to manipulate gravity. Now, you may be wondering why Shinra didn't just kill him instantly with his lightspeed. Well, his concept of direction was absolutely messed up, so if he used lightspeed, he could end up on the wrong side of the planet. And so that's when Sho appears and tells Shinra that he isn't a devil, and that it was all a contingency by the evangelist to stop him from being the hero that he's destined to be. From there, Shinra has to fight Raffles, who was also known as a hero by the people, deflecting lasers with ease and leaving craters wherever he kicks. Even when 8 new demons are summoned, Shinra easily kills them all without anyone even realizing what happened, all before landing the finishing nuclear-looking blow that would have killed everyone nearby if not for Iris protecting them. But by killing the well-known hero, Raffles, Shinra becomes known as the devil worldwide, and so he disappears from existence because he has no reason to anymore. He existed to be the savior, but now he truly is the devil. But Sho told Arrow that if this did happen and Shinra failed, that all the pillars would be transported into the world of Adolla, telling her that as long as Shinra exists, the collective unconsciousness won't lead to death. Yet Sho went from almost killing his brother to believing in him to a ridiculous amount. Following this, Giovanni reveals the evangelist's plans, explaining that the end of the world was intentionally planted into humanity's collective consciousness, and that the sun is the result of a previous Earth, which was consumed by flames and became the current sun, meaning this Earth is the second Earth. destined to repeat its fiery destruction. Thus, the Cataclysm begins, as large-scale fires consume the planet. The idea of hope completely vanishes amongst the people, leading to mass despair. To make things even worse, this also results in the attack of more powerful doppelgangers. Also, ironically, because imagination is now real, per se, it makes Arthur possibly the strongest person alive since his brain is so fried. Bro can even breathe in space because he is that delusional, but he also truly became a knight who slayed the dragon in one of the best fights in shonen history. Yeah, I said it. Because of his actions, there is enough hope for our main man Shinra to break free from despair. But then, just as you're thinking, Shinra has to be the strongest, Benimaru fights his own doppelganger who does this crazy ass Nichiren that spirals around the entire planet, only for it to do nothing, as Benimaru one-shots him. Yeah, Benimaru's doppelganger was literally the strongest that everyone imagines out of anyone in the Empire. He's literally as strong as what is humanly comprehensible, yet Benimaru is just like, yeah, nah, that's still weaker than me. In fact, I'm actually quite offended that that is as strong as you think I am. But now it's Shinra's time to turn up the heat, because this googly eye in the sky is the manifestation of Adolla given form. Thoughts of despair and madness, and so whilst this exists, the Cataclysm simply cannot be stopped. So, Sho and Shinra enter this world, seeing the history of humanity's despair. The image of it is attempting to fuse with their planet, and it's all up to these two to stop it. But that's when Haumea appears, acting differently than ever before, telling them that she once used her crown to block her vision, but she's always been listening to both humanity's unconsciousness and God's revelation, and now she's gained a new understanding as she removes this crown. She always saw humanity's deepest thoughts, being completely broken before absorbing both disgust and destruction, aka Inca and this old lady that we all hate and doesn't even deserve to have a name stated. They tell Shinra that death is the only salvation, the only release to the pain humans experience. The evangelist, as we've called it, has no form. It's merely the collective unconsciousness of all humans, the materialization of the secret desire within them. The despair they witness is the true evangelist, and Haumea is the true God. Knowing that humanity actually desires its own extinction, that God never made humanity, humanity created God because of their despair, but then this God they made up in their minds created even more despair. Yeah, I get that it's a tad confusing, guys, but Haumea states that through evolution and advancing civilization, the value of human souls increased and they kept death at bay, earning safety. But this made death so much more terrifying. The despair was at an all-time high, which is when the Great Cataclysm happened. Humanity destroyed themselves. Now Shinra has to somehow think of a way to stop all despair and the fear of death in the world. When Haumea shows Shinra that even Sister Iris chose death, he attempts to attack, but this only proves her point. Only death can bring salvation. But when they try to attack with a different plan, both Sho and Shinra's attacks do nothing, because Haumea now possesses the powers of all the pillars, including Inca's, to sense danger. Fate itself has decided that she cannot be touched. They are hopeless. Even if they stop Haumea, if Shinra dies, it doesn't matter. The world will still fall into despair. Yet he can't help but be furious, and in the moment that he's distracted, Haumea puts a hole straight through his chest. If not for Captain Kayako's treatment earlier in the series, Shinra would be dead. However, this just inspires him to never give up, as he influences fate for the first time, moving Haumea's hair. You guys all know about the butterfly effect, right? Well, by causing just the tiniest change in fate, it could ripple throughout everything, which is why the evangelist, or god, fears the change Shinra can bring. This all crumbles though when Obi dies to his own doppelganger, causing Shinra to lose his mind, resulting in the planet being engulfed in flames. Yep, he just accidentally killed everybody. If not for Arthur, Haumea would have been proven right there. Plus, we learn that Arthur is actually the fourth pillar's guardian, yeah, the guy who bullied him on a daily basis. Nonetheless, Shinra decides that he doesn't want the world to end like this, and so it won't. Simple as that. Because his mother appears, who is actually the doppelganger of the evangelist.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah, this shit goes crazy, but we aren't going to delve into that rabbit hole just yet, as Shinra tells her about his whole life and how he never despaired and how he wants his mother to meet all the people that he loves. Now, that's sweet and all, but Shinra still can't do anything to Haumea. Inka's prediction, the sister's divine blessing, there is no way to stop such a broken ass god. But that's when Shinra asks his family to join hands, telling them that they're both miracles to him, and so what's one more? His mother is the personification of hope, just as Haumea became one with the despair, and so now Shinra needs to become one with hope. Thus, with the souls of an angel, a hero, and the personification of hope, their souls unite as one. Soul resonance. That is right, Soul Eater Nation, stand up, because the most powerful being in all of fiction has just been born. Okay, you guys might think that I'm just yapping, but I'm dead serious. Shinra Bancho Man is genuinely broken and no character could ever stop him. Why? Well, because no attack does anything to Shinra. Even when Haumea combines with despair itself, Shinra legit just turns her flames to flowers and leaves. He begins to easily repel the black flames, creating whales from his imagination. So if you don't understand yet, Shinra Bancho Man can do anything that he imagines. Create something out of thin air? Easy. Any attack ever coming towards him? Who actually gives a shit? Just imagine that it doesn't even work. Bro even catches a divine light that can destroy anything it touches and then turns it into a new atmosphere to extinguish the black flames that cover the planet. Shinra begins to completely recreate the world with his bare hands. Guys, I can't even power scale this. How do you power scale someone that can just do anything? Reality is simply Shinra's bitch at this point and has to do what he says. Even the evangelist calls Shinra a god as he confronts all the pain and despair that Haumea has endured. And what does he do with all of that trauma and despair? He just kicks it away. Yeah, he kicks it away, using it to recreate civilization. But how? Just like that? Well, you see, Shinra stopped and rewound time countless times because he isn't some genius that understood anything and everything ever, and so Shinra had to be doing this for eons. He even turns Haumea's tears into souls, completely resurrecting everyone who died in his own vision. But this doesn't change what Haumea said. How does this stop the cycle of despair? Well, Shinra said, "I'm gonna do my own thing." He lessened the value of life. Remember, life became worth too much, and so people feared it more than ever. Thus, Shinra just turned death into something closer and more intimate. For the final convincing, he brings back Sharon to persuade Haumea to finally join the side of hope and stop despairing. But all of that despair had to go somewhere, and so Shinra just annihilates it. No big deal, right? I mean, he even creates a god to rule death itself, making it visible for everyone, and I'm sure many of you guys recognize it. Now, it takes all the pyrokinesis from the world, meaning that human combustion is finally gone forever. And to make things even better, Shinra got a harem in the process.
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
Nonetheless, he used Vulcan and Licht's smart to recreate the world in his own image. Even a new power system was built, one allowing those with strong souls like Captain Obi to rip the planet in half with one hand, and somehow even without pyrokinesis, Benimaru is still the strongest. I guess some things never change. But all in all, at the end of the series, Shinra can manipulate and reshape reality itself in his own image, change the entire universe, can always move at beyond light speed, bring anyone back to life, create gods, anything he wants ever to be real will be. But you know what he wants above all? It's for you to click this video on your screen right now.